welcome to our channel. If you are curious about the mysteries hidden in ancient texts, or if you enjoy discovering the untold stories of humanity's origins, you are in the right place. Here we dive deep into biblical narratives and ancient traditions to uncover fascinating truths that many overlook. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our future explorations. In today's episode, we'll be tackling a question that has intrigued scholars, historians, and even casual readers of the Bible for centuries. Are the Japanese Chinese and indigenous peoples mentioned in the Bible? And if so, can we trace their ancestry back to any biblical figures? These questions may seem difficult to answer at first glance, but the truth is, the Bible and ancient Jewish traditions offer us more insights than we might expect. While it's commonly believed that China or other Asian nations aren't mentioned in the Bible, there is compelling evidence to suggest that the ancestors of the Chinese and other East Asian peoples may indeed be referenced. Despite some scholars asserting that Chinese ancestry is absent from biblical texts, the truth is that certain biblical characters may actually be linked to the origins of East Asian civilizations. In this video, we will explore the figure of Sin Roshan, considered by some as the biblical progenitor of the Chinese people. We'll trace his lineage, origins, and possible connections to other ancient Asian peoples. This episode is part of our larger series on the origins of various groups according to the Bible. So if you're interested in understanding the ancient roots of different cultures, stay with us. To begin, we'll explore the character Togarmah, a descendant of Japheth, one of Noah's sons, who is mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. According to Ezekiel, Togarmah is one of the ancestors of the peoples from the Far East, and the Bible references his house and his troops. This lineage is one of the earliest indications of connections between biblical characters and the peoples of East Asia. But there's another key figure connected to the origins of the Chinese people, Sin, also known as Shine according to biblical tradition. Sin was a son of Canaan and a grandson of Noah. This connection places him in a prominent lineage, as Canaan was one of the sons of Ham, Noah's other son. Sin is mentioned indirectly in the Bible, as his descendants, the Sinites or Sinians, are referenced in several ancient texts. These names, Sinites in English and Sinians in Portuguese, are often linked to the early ancestors of the Chinese people. What makes this connection even more intriguing is that Sin's descendants were not among the Canaanite tribes that Joshua was commanded to destroy in the book of Joshua. This detail sets Sin and his people apart from the usual narrative of Canaan's descendants being seen as enemies of Israel. According to ancient Jewish traditions, the Sinites or Sinians did not inhabit the land of Canaan, thus avoiding the curse that fell upon other Canaanite tribes. In Hebrew, Sin's name is pronounced Shimi, which carries various meanings such as peak, clay, or even moon. Some scholars argue that his name could be linked to the modern name China and may even refer to ancient Proto-Chinese settlements. Interestingly, the land of Sinim, mentioned in Isaiah 49:12, is interpreted by some as a reference to these early Chinese settlements. Isaiah 49:12 reads, "Behold, these shall come from afar, and behold, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim." John Wesley and John Gill, two renowned biblical commentators, offered various interpretations of this verse. Some believe that Sinim refers to nomadic peoples, while others suggest it could be a city in Egypt. However, Manasseh ben Israel, a Jewish scholar cited by John Gill, proposes an alternative interpretation, suggesting that Sinim could actually refer to China. Supporting this view, Claudius Ptolemy, in his historical work Geography, referred to China as the land of Sin, providing further evidence for this interpretation. In addition to these biblical references, the name Sin also appears in ancient Mesopotamian religions, where Sin was the name of the moon god, forming part of an astral triad with the sun god Sumerian Utu and the deity Ishtar Sumerian Inanna. Associated with Venus, such connections between the names Sin and various ancient cultures, including Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Chinese, further deepen the mystery of Sin's identity. Interestingly, Sin's descendants are also believed to have settled in regions far from the traditional lands of the Canaanites, specifically in coastal cities north of Phoenicia. These settlements may have contributed to the establishment of what we now recognize as early Chinese and other East Asian Owls. ACs. Linguistic evidence suggests that many place names in China today, such as Xi'an, Xi'an, Shanghai, Shaanxi, Shenyang, and Tianjin, may be connected to the ancient Sin or Shin mentioned in the Bible. In fact, Sin is thought to be the ancestor not only of the Chinese but also of other Asian peoples, including the Japanese, Koreans, Filipinos, Indonesians, and more. Over centuries, his descendants may have mingled with the descendants of Togarmah, creating a rich and diverse lineage that spread across the East. This intermingling of lineages could explain the shared cultural and linguistic traits among many East Asians today. So, could it be that Sin, the son of Canaan and grandson of Noah, is the long-forgotten ancestor of the Chinese and other Asian peoples? The evidence, drawn from biblical texts, ancient traditions, and historical sources, certainly points in that direction. These divisions would include the native indigenous peoples of the Americas who arrived long ago from Asia, as well as the Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Filipinos, Indonesians, Mongolians, and others, all considered descendants of Sin, possibly influenced by the lineage of Togarmah. People with lighter skin tones may have descended from Togarmah, while those with shades of brown skin, ranging from light brown to medium beige, may have origins in Sin, the son of Canaan. This relationship can explain the phenotypic variations in skin tones found among Native Americans compared to some Asian peoples. Scientific research has already confirmed the Asian origin of some Native American peoples, resulting from ancient contacts and interactions between these cultures. These cultural exchanges gave rise to new languages and dialects, known as Far Asian languages and Proto-Caribbean languages. Some even point out similarities in intonation and speaking patterns between the Japanese language and some Native American languages. Linguists propose this assumption, also highlighting possible sound similarities, especially between the Japanese language and some Native American languages in North America. Indeed, the relationship between the Chinese and their possible descent from Sin and Togarmah is widely discussed and often based on historical and mythological evidence. Their land, often called Sinan, has been associated with these ancestors, with Sin and Togarmah considered the progenitors of the ancient Mongolic Chinese family. Ancient records, such as Egyptian monuments, depict these peoples with distinctive features, including prominent noses, full lips, large cheeks, and hairless or beardless faces. The range of skin tones, varying from brown to lighter shades and even reddish-brown, shows notable similarities to some indigenous people. Hair is often described as black and straight, while eyes are mentioned as dark brown or deep brown. Some representations also suggest slightly slanted eyes. The name Togarmah itself, which means pulled or broken, could indeed be a reference to the appearance of their eyes. The term Kiti in Hittite cuneiform, which translates as Kaitai, represented a powerful nation in the Far East, known as Kaitai, and this reference has persisted over the centuries in the term Kitai. These historical and etymological connections are fascinating and continue to be the subject of study and discussion among historians and linguists. The Kitai were an ethnic group that belonged to the ancient Chinese primordial family. The connections between the Chinese and the Kitai were evident in various aspects, such as their clothing, the style of shoes they wore, and the way they braided their hair, among other details. Historical representations often depicted them with prominent cheeks, and craniologists noted common similarities between them and other Mongolic ethnic groups. The father of Sin plays a significant role in the Far East, being associated with the possible origin of Chinese civilization. The Chinese themselves often point to the capital Shaanxi, whose name suggests Father Sin as the most likely place of origin of their civilization. Furthermore, Shangfu, mentioned in Assyrian records as the Boshan, is translated today as the place of the western capital of China. The Chinese have a tradition that refers to Fuxi or Fohai, a figure who, similar to the biblical Noah, appeared in the mountains of Qin and was surrounded by a rainbow, evoking parallels with the biblical account after a flood that covered the world. Fuxi also offered animal sacrifices to God. This tradition is about the origins of the Chinese and is very similar to the record in the book of Genesis. Sin, in turn, was part of the third generation after Noah, which could provide an appropriate temporal context for the initial emergence of Chinese culture. Sin, in turn, was part of the third generation after Noah, which could provide an appropriate temporal context for the initial emergence of Chinese culture. This connection with Sin is also evident in the nomenclature, since people who came from the Far East for trading purposes were called Sinites by the Scythians. Ptolemy, a Greek astronomer, referred to China as the land of Sinim or Sini. Furthermore, the book of Isaiah 49 verse 12 mentions Sinim, indicating that they came from afar, not from the north or west. Arabs, in turn, used terms such as Sin, Chin, Mahakan, and Makan to refer to China. Sini was associated with people who inhabited remote regions of Asia. However, I am interested in hearing your perspective on the intriguing origin story of the Chinese people. It is remarkable how much information there is available about Chinese ancestry, often related to the ancient Sinians and Sinites, whose roots go back to Canaan and Togarmah for some time now. I have been planning to create an additional video that explores the links between the Chinese and the Canaanites, as well as their relationship with the Europeans. In conclusion, the fascinating exploration of the biblical origins of the Chinese and other Asian peoples reveals a deep connection between ancient traditions and modern civilizations. Figures like Sin, Togarmah, and the Sinites provide a unique perspective on the ancestry of these groups, offering insight into how the Bible and ancient texts may have documented the spread of human civilization across the world. The connections between the Chinese and biblical characters challenge the idea that the Bible only focuses on the Middle East, showing instead how it may have touched upon many regions, including East Asia. This analysis sheds light on the broader narrative of humanity's shared history, showing that our origins are more interconnected than we might have thought. By tracing the lineages of these ancient peoples, we gain a deeper appreciation for the rich cultural and spiritual heritage that unites us all. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. We'll see you in the next episode.